Assalamu alaikum, ladies. Alhamdulillah, I finally did it. I actually wrote a book. It's dedicated to all the single Muslim mothers out there, hence the name How to Be a Single Muslim Mum. Inshallah, it's available as an ebook, paperback, and it will be available as an audio. Alhamdulillah. Barakallahu feekum, sisters, for the support. Check out the link in the description to get yours. The Niqabi Diaries, Season 4. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu salamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode, season 4 of the Niqabi Diaries. Alhamdulillah, we're coming to the end of the season, the last season of Niqabi Diaries, inshallah. And we have with us a sister here to share her story with us of how she came to be wearing the niqab, inshallah. So, sister, could you please introduce yourself to the listeners and tell us a little bit about what you do, inshallah?
Sure. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to everyone. Thanks for the invitation. I really appreciate coming in here and being one of your guests. I never had discovered your channel until I saw your Instagram, and mashallah, it's so nice that you have a platform to say and have interview a lot of niqabi ladies and women that are also wearing the niqab and empowering us through your voice, through your videos. So jazakallah here for inviting me today. And yes, my name is Stephanie Sanchez. Actually, my name is Estefania Sanchez, but because a lot of people struggle with names and stuff like that here in the U.S., they mess up my name a lot. So I'm just like I just tell everyone, just call me Steph or Stephanie. So if anyone ever hears like wants to talk to me, they can call me Estefania or Stephanie. But I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm also when I'm not at home with my kids, I have two children, and when I'm not at home, I am usually um, having time with my family. I also work as a nurse. I work with the geriatric population in the Alzheimer unit. And mashallah, I also I'm going to start studying in the next year. And so I'll be having a lot of like having my hands full. So I'm also the author of the book Tu Puedes. It's You Can Do It. It's a bilingual book, and I'm really excited to be here. So I do a bunch of other things, but I think to cut it short, I think that's who I am.
Allahumma barik, sister. It's so nice to hear, subhanAllah. Like, literally, there's so many things there that you've mentioned. And I was just like, wow, I didn't want to interrupt
I'm
you
like, where
to
do
ruin your
I
flow. But
start? Thank you so much.
subhanAllah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, sister, alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair really for accepting the invitation and coming on to, share some of your journey with us. One of the things actually I wanted to mention is about your name when you mentioned about your name being Estefania. I really love the Spanish language and South American culture. So that's something that I've always been interested in, basically. And what I find strange about American culture specifically is that they don't seem to be able to speak Spanish very well. And I think that's weird because isn't that they've got a high population of Latinos living in America anyways. And I would have thought that they should be the best at speaking Spanish and being close with culture and things like that. So that always baffles me. As I said, I love Spanish. That's one of my favorite languages. So yeah, I will call you Estefania, inshallah. And
Okay.
whenever I meet Latino sisters on here, I get really excited. So just don't mind me. Anytime I meet a sister that's Latina, I'm just I just get really
Yes.
so excited about it. Okay, so yeah, the other thing that I wanted to ask as well, obviously after all your introduction and everything, since you are a Latina, um, are you a revert? Is it safe to assume that you're a revert? And if so, could you share with us some
Yes.
of your revert story, inshallah?
Yes. I am a revert. So I reverted back to Islam in 2018. And it's been such a beautiful journey with obstacles, but such a beautiful journey as to where I am right now. I remember back in school, in elementary school, middle school, and high school, mostly where I went to a public school, so my population of diversity was very low. It was just very like I went to a very predominant Hispanic school system, like school, and I think it was like 90% of Hispanics that we were in school throughout like primary school, middle school, and then high school. It changed a little bit, but I had never interacted with any Muslim children, so I didn't know any Muslim people, any Muslim children. I didn't know about Islam or anything like that. So it came to for me Islam. It I got introduced into Islam when we because of the and you might know this too because us being Hispanic, when a girl turns 15 years of age, we do a party for her, and it's called a quinceañera. So a quinceañera means 15. So this is we take us like we if it's our quinceañera or if it's our sister's quinceañera or our children's quinceañera, we take the girl and we take her to church, and the church recognizes her from her transition of being a girl and becoming into a woman. So I remember I had a quinceañera and my sister. I'm the eldest of three, and we're all sisters. So my younger sister, it was time for her to have her quinceañera, and she was saying like, "Oh, I don't think I want a quinceañera. I think I want a trip." So at that time, like some parents or some families decide not to do parties, and then they'll take like a trip. And then at that time, that's what she wanted. And my dad was, she asked my dad, I think I want a trip, and he's like, okay, that's fine because my dad never liked parties. So parties were like to him like people would just come and then sometimes they criticize, and so he's like, that's fine. I'll just like I'll send you to a trip. And then she's like, oh, but I want to go with my friends. And at that time she was still really young, so she was 15, and my dad was like, no, just go with your like your mom and your sisters. He wasn't able to come because he was working at that time and he couldn't take some time off. So at that time there was the craze of like the whole thing about like, oh, let's people going to Dubai and showing off like how like elegant and um like the skyscraper and everything. And so she was like, I want to go to Dubai. And so we didn't know anything about Dubai at that time. And we're like, okay, we would love to go with you. So that's how it ended up going. Like we went into the airplane and we got in and we got into the UAE, and coming in there, it was strange to me because, and even to my mom and dad, no, sorry, my mom and my sisters, because we went there, we stayed at the hotel, and we stayed at the old Dubai. There's like a new Dubai, and then there's the old Dubai. And at the old Dubai, there's mostly we didn't know because it was our first time, but there was mostly like males that would work there. So from like India, from Bangladesh, from different parts of the country, and they would like stay there. And so when we got out of the hotel, we saw like a bunch of men outside, and we didn't see really that many women because I think we were in the section where like all the bachelor men come in and to work, and then they bring money to their families. And so we're like, oh my God, we're going to get catcalled. There's a lot of catcalling in Mexico. So, and we've been there so many times. So we're like, oh my God, we're going to get catcalled. Like, let's brace ourselves. And not to, like, to our surprise, we went outside and the men weren't even looking at us. They were like, a lot of people were lowering their gaze. They were just it, like, not like not ignoring us, but like they didn't um like we didn't feel like they were saying anything, and which was so nice and relieving to us to see that they weren't telling us like, hey beautiful, or how's it going, or can I take your number and stuff. Because when we go to Mexico, for women, unfortunately, the you get a lot of these things being said to you when you are walking alone over there. so we were so surprised, and we're like, "What? You're telling us like the men didn't say anything?" And we like we instantly felt safer there. And so then we started to do our tour, and they took us to the Grand Sayed Mosque, the biggest one of the biggest mosques in I believe it's in Abu Dhabi. And but correct me if I'm wrong, but we went over there and they helped us like to put on an abaya and a hijab to stay modest inside the mosque, and we were so amazed like like how it felt to be like so peaceful and like so it was like such a beautiful place. And we it just kind of like felt very peaceful, and then just reminds you of God. And so what else did we do? It was just like we went throughout the whole trip, and we had different tour guides, and one of the tour guides were saying like that a lot of times we have misconceptions here in the West about them. And then some people were asking about the woman, like why do they cover their hair? Why do we have to wear these hijabs while going into the mosque? And the tour guides were saying that like women cover themselves for modesty. And some people were, even me too, I was under the impression like, oh my god, like they don't do it for their husbands or or because their dad forces them to do it. And they were like, no, they don't do that. They do it because of Allah, because of God, because um they want to cover themselves because um for for God. And so it was a shocking to me because again, like I told you, I didn't know anything about Islam. And I wanted to the trip ended, and I wanted to continue learning more about Islam. And so at that time I was starting the university, and I said, "Oh, I'll sign up for some Islamic classes in the university." It was like a Islam 101 class. And from there, I got to know some more things. I had an assignment that was to interview two Muslim people and ask them what do they like about Islam, and or what things do they don't like, what type of things um like do they enjoy as being Muslim. And then so I didn't at that time, I didn't, like I said, I didn't know anyone. So they recommended me to that I can go to my local masjid, which I visited. And it was so close to me, and I never knew that was a masjid. I never knew that I lived so close to a masjid, subhanallah. And I went and I interviewed these two girls. And prior to coming to interview these two girls, I was so nervous because I'm like, they're probably really like religious, and I'm out here coming in like, do I even deserve to talk to them? Because I don't know anything about like religion. Because I also have to say like yes, I was a Christian before, a Catholic. And like it was just Catholic by name. We only went to church when it was like Christmas or Easter. And then I never really it wasn't really instilled in me in our house to read the Bible or anything like that. It was just like we were just living and without religion. But I went to the masjid, and these two girls, I met them. They were so nice. Um, they like cleared up some of the misconceptions that I thought, like, oh, are you guys wearing the hijab because, you know, your parents are telling you to do it, or and then they were like, oh, we're wearing it because we do it for our God. And coming out of that interview, I came out like, oh my God, like I think I wanted to get to know more. And so I kept on studying it. And then I, I wanted to embrace Islam a little bit a couple months after that. And so I embraced it. And at the same masjid, um, they accepted me. They were like my little family there because I kept on continuing to talk to the girls. And I still have my friends from the masjid there. So that was my introduction into Islam. It was just literally a trip to Dubai introduced me to Islam.
Subhanallah, sister. What a story. Wow. MashaAllah, Allah Mubarak. That's just amazing.
Thank you.
And it's just, it's really nice, like, to see that somebody like SubhanAllah, Allah blesses people with obviously his guidance. And it just goes to like, there's so many people who've taken the trip to Dubai, but they haven't become Muslim from it. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's really from Allah's mercy and Allah's blessing that, you know, he guided you through that journey, you know. SubhanAllah, because like some people, like, you know, have many you know, questions like how you had. Even me, like as a reader, I had lots of questions too about Islam. But you know, it's having that open-mindedness, I think, isn't it? Like, you know, when you talk to people and they give you the answers, you accept the answers that they give you rather than still trying to judge and critique them. So I see like a lot of stuff like that online now these days. Like, people say that they want to find out about Islam, but then even when they hear people, like even our conversation now, for example, maybe somebody will listen to it and say, oh, you know, you women are still forced, like, you know, you're following a patriarchal religion. You know, the Muslim men are like abuses for their wives. They'll say all these kind of things that, you know, there's no basis for it, but they
Right.
believe this stuff because that's what they're being told, like this kind of propaganda that's been, you know, kind of pushed, you know, in their direction. So they kind of accept that as the truth. And then even for people like us, when we come out and speak, you know, sharing our stories, they still don't want to accept it as the norm. They want to, they think that it's an exception, you know, subhanallah. So you know, it's really it's beautiful, alhamdulillah, that, you know, alhamdulillah, that Allah guided you, Allah guided but me as well, alhamdulillah, and may Allah keep us
Alhamdulillah.
on his deen, ameen.
I
So
mean,
you know, obviously you had those kind of questions about the hijab, you know, when you was in Dubai, you asked the question, and as well you asked the question to those sisters that you spoke with at the masjid. So once you became Muslim, you know, how was the hijab for you? Like, how did you, you know, how did you kind of what was your process to wear the hijab? You know, was it something that you did straight away? Did you embrace it immediately, or was it something that, you know, took a period of time?
oh sure. For hijab, right? It means not just the veil, the covering of your hair, but hijab, the word itself means like the whole um veiling of yourself. So like it started for me. I didn't embrace the head scarf immediately. I started taking some time. What I started to do was started by fixing up my clothes first. So I started wearing instead of like the tighter jeans, I wore the looser pants. What instead of having like that shirt, the short shirt, you I started wearing a longer top, and then I started increasing by wearing the long sleeve top, and then from there I went to like a long sleeve top that was longer by my knees, and from there it just like it started building up, and I think that was the best way for me to transition into hijab because it was slowly, so could people started seeing the transition, but it wasn't just like an immediate transition. And then for the hijab, I honestly didn't start wearing it full time until after I got married. Um, I That's something else I can talk about, but I think for hijab for me, it started for when I was transitioning it slowly by slowly, and I thought that was the best thing that worked for me. I think it would have been too much, especially coming from my Hispanic community, if I would have just changed into wearing the appropriate clothes immediately, but I just couldn't do it. I was still living with my parents at that time, and I was fearing that they might kick me out of the house. I might not have a place to stay in case if I was to like bring it uh just like immediately. So I started at home also, um just starting different things that I used to do. I stopped leaving, like for example, in Hispanic culture we eat a lot of pork. So we eat a lot of ham, and that's something that um I was used to, but when I came into Islam, I started leaving it, and then my family members were like, "Well, how come you're not eating that?" And it was a little bit hard. I When I started reverting, I know you probably understand this being a revert. I don't know about your family members of how it was, um, but for me, it was just like going into my room when it was salat time and then like praying in silence, being fearful that what will my parents say? Again, the maybe the possibility of me not having a home. So if I was to go ahead and say like I reverted to Islam, so I definitely took time for me for the whole hijab journey, for the whole um, being fully Muslim. I guess I would say that fully Muslim in front of my family. So, but Alhamdulillah, I have reached that stage where I'm fully Muslim to my family. So, Alhamdulillah, they have accepted me and they're okay with it. But before, like you mentioned, the whole hijab struggle is a struggle. I remember my dad when I came out one day wearing loose, like too closely loosed, he would say like, "Oh, I don't think they look good," and I think my mom started telling me too that like, "Oh, you look like you don't like when unkept." Like that's the word she said. That you looked unkept. Like why don't you fix yourself up? So I definitely went through some struggles, and alhamdulillah, the other day I was walking out with my abaya, but I didn't. It has those buttons, and I didn't button all of them up. And my dad was like, "Aren't you gonna button your buttons on your abaya?" And I was like, "Oh my god, yes, I am." And I knew my dad that told me that I didn't look good with my pants, like my loose pants, like was going to tell me one day that um to fix my abaya. And also they have came with me to the masjid when they have some activities because now with my children, I have two of them. They help me, alhamdulillah, with the children. But I would have never imagined that they would come to the masjid. But it's so nice now that this Eid they came out and they did a festival and they were playing with my daughter and it was just so nice. Alhamdulillah for Allah to for everything that He does. Allah is great, and it's really now that I'm here reflecting on it, like the things that we went, you might understand too, the things that we go as rebirths, and you think you might not be able um to get out of that like that phase of being scared, of being like told things by your family, but you will get out of it. And alhamdulillah, Allah also decides who He wants to. You know, He could have probably been like, made my parents like never accept me, but alhamdulillah, like my parents are accepting of me, and like alhamdulillah for Islam, because after Islam, I so many great things came for me. So, alhamdulillah for that.
Alhamdulillah, Allahumma barik, sister. I can totally relate to, what you were saying, especially the part about taking the time to like wear like hijab properly. Like I did literally the same how you did. I just did it like kind of bit by bit, that gradual process that you went through, trying to slowly change my clothing and become more modest.
Yeah.
And There was a period of time like I was kind of trying to do like wrap my hair as well. So I'd do like a head wrap, but like that kind of
Yes.
like because I'm from African background, African Caribbean background, so I used to tie it like this kind of just like
Like a
tie my
turban.
hair,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of like that, like
Okay.
so it was almost like a bun at the back, so I was doing
Mhm.
that, and then and eventually when I told my parents that I'd become a Muslim, like they wasn't happy about it at all, and I was scared also that I was going to get kicked out of the home. So
Mhm.
I can totally relate to your experience, subhanallah. But
Alhamdulillah.
I wanted to ask as well about the obviously you're wearing the niqab now,
Yes.
so alhamdulillah your family have accepted you as a Muslim, and I think as well, like one of the things that you mentioned even was even about like wearing the hijab after you got married, and how marriage helped it become easier, if I'm correct, if
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what you were saying.
Yes.
And I think sometimes what happens as well, like, people don't realize, coming back to the whole issue of Muslim women being forced to cover, I think sometimes it's not a case that we're even being forced to cover by, husbands and things like that. But sometimes, especially from a rebirth's perspective, if you have a supportive husband, who actually helps you have that strength to actually go forward and wear the hijab or wear the niqab, that's really important, because if you don't have a family that's going to give you that kind of backing. A husband, that's the person that you need, that's going to that will do it. I've known sisters previously, and even in my own experience, when you don't have a husband who really supports your hijab journey, or maybe their idea of hijab is completely different from what you understand as a new Muslim, it makes it very difficult for you to actually fulfill it properly. Because obviously, like, if your husband doesn't want you to wear the hijab, then, like, you're always going to be kind of in a bit of a conflict, subhanallah. So could you talk a little bit about that, and inshallah
Sure.
then let us know, how did you come to be wearing the niqab?
Okay, for sure. Yes, what you said is very important. A supportive husband is very needed, I think, especially for us reverts, because if you don't have, like you mentioned, if you already don't have a supportive family that is going to support you on this, like, and if you get married and you don't have a supportive husband either, it is really hard, super hard. But alhamdulillah that I was blessed to have a supportive husband and a supportive family in laws too. I think that is very important too, because even too, like you mentioned, if you don't have a supportive husband, instead he could be like rushing your whole hijab process and making things worse. And there's also sisters that are like, that I think I've heard about leaving even Islam because their husbands were like too much for them. They wanted for them to embrace. They were like, no, no, what you're doing is wrong, or like you need to wear the hijab, and it's just a lot. So my husband was very supportive in this case. He was definitely letting me take things step by step. He definitely understood how my family, where I was coming from. Also, though, reminding me too that, like, in things that I didn't know about, like, why don't we start reading Quran first, so you can see where I'm coming from telling you all these things about Islam. And so we started reading the Quran since we the first day that we got married. So, like, from there, I things like I've never was able to do, being a Christian or Catholic. I never read the Bible. Well, I only read the Bible when I got my communion, but only then. And then also, it was really good that he was supportive. And sometimes I would have, like, going back when I got married, I moved in with him, but when I went back home, there was times where it's still like, oh, but you're not going to cover your hair, right? Because once I had already told my parents that I was Muslim, they were like, oh, but please don't cover your hair, don't do that to yourself. So I was able to become more stronger by just having him being there and backing me up. And um my parents thought it was a phase of me going through. And thankfully, because if I didn't have that supportive family, then I needed his support with this. And it's hard too for Muslim men that take on, I believe, like, revert wives, because their family also get to see, you know, some of the struggles, and they can also not be supportive. So the husbands also can get a little bit, like, backlash from their family. But alhamdulillah, I mentioned, like, that my family in-laws are so good. Like, they were very okay and understanding about, like, the whole me being um a revert and different topics. Like, for example, we have a dog at home, and, like, when my parents have a dog, and so understanding, like, they never said anything about the dog or anything like that. And for those people that are hearing this, for people that don't know, but Muslim, like, for in like Islam, a dog is sometimes not seen as something nice to be kept at home. But because my parents have the dog, they were like, oh, well, talking stuff about, like, well, their house is house is not going to be blessed if they have the dog there. But thankfully, like my in-laws were really good and supportive. They were okay. They knew I didn't wear the hijab up until like I got married. And for going now prepping to the niqab, because I already mentioned like my family accepted me after after getting married. They were like in the beginning they weren't okay with me wearing the hijab, but then they got used to it the more I showed up into family parties with the hijab on, and they were more um, like since they saw me more often, they were more okay with it. So thankfully, they never said anything. But then with the niqab, um, in going back to that Dubai trip, remember that I was telling you about that Dubai trip? I saw a lot of niqabis. At that time, it was 2017, and I saw a lot of niqabis, and I was like amazed by because I don't think I had seen I maybe one or two, but never really paid attention. And when I went to Dubai, I was like, well, and again, knowing that like when now that they told me that like these women wear it because of Allah, not because their husbands are forcing them into this. I thought it was really nice, and the guides were like telling us like, you know what, they actually feel bad for you guys, and because they in Islam the man has to provide for the woman, so like the woman they don't have to work unless they need to work or unless they want to. But here in like the US sometimes we have to work, right? Because it's a different type of culture, and so I thought it was really nice because I'm like, oh, so they don't even have to work. They are feeling. I thought that was another thing of Islam that I really like, that the men provide for the woman, and so I really liked that these women were like, they weren't forced to wear the niqab. They wanted themselves to be seen as a person for their intelligence without showing like their face or their bodies or anything like that. And then that's what I thought it was beautiful. So I didn't think of it more until I came back after being a hijabi after marriage. Then I started making my Instagram account, and I started following some influencers, some hijabi influencers, but I wanted to be influenced in a different like type of way, in like a more conservative way. So I followed all these like Niqabi sisters and these like Muslimas that wore the hijab, but they, oh my God, they look so pretty. And then I was like, I think I want to like an influencer. She was wearing her niqab, and she's also, I think she's like half Spanish and half Moroccan, and so I wanted to also follow like the the niqab. So I I know these women, all these women that I followed on Instagram were beautiful, talented ladies that they didn't even um show their beauty, but they were so smart. Some people were like science majors, a lot of people were like communicative majors, and so like they didn't even their intelligence was showing, but not by posting their bodies or their faces or anything like that. And I'm like, oh my God, like that is so beautiful. Like when a woman can still, you can still hear and see her intelligence without even being seen. That's beautiful. So I decided to wear it, but I don't still wear it full time. May Allah help me to wear it full time, but I can't wear it because right now I'm living with my family member, with my mom and dad, and I think that's one step right now that they still haven't gotten used to. So in the future, I hope I can. But when I go out, like not being with them, I do wear it. I just can't still wear it around them. They have said some remarks about me wearing the niqab, so I think I will give them a couple more time for them to get used to me. I they see my posts when I have them on Instagram and TikTok, and if you guys follow me, Stephanie Sweetheart Sanchez. You guys can see that I'm always there with my niqab on, but I just don't wear it with my family members. I think I will still give them more time for them because this is something that I took on and I want to prepare them. So, inshallah, pray for me so that I can wear it in front of my family members. Inshallah, they do seem like they won't say anything. It's just me, I guess, being scared at this time. But in the future, I hope that I can do better and wear it around them. But Alhamdulillah, whenever we go out, I wear it. And now you probably understand with your baby, with my baby, he's on constantly like pulling my hijab and my niqab, and sometimes it's like crooked, and sometimes it goes off a little bit. But subhanallah, for us moms that wear the niqab with small children.
Mashallah, I can totally relate to that. SubhanAllah, it's like trying to pray is like a challenge on its own. SubhanAllah, like literally just trying to pray in the house is difficult. So going outside, yeah, that's another like whole story together. SubhanAllah, like when you got the little ones, like yeah, they just grab everything. SubhanAllah,
Yeah.
such a challenge. Yeah, and may Allah keep you steadfast, sister. You know, I think the issue of sisters not wearing hijab full time, or not hijab, sorry, the issue of sisters not wearing niqab all the time is I don't know. I think for me, I think it's something that's personal, and you know, I was saying, I even wrote on a post yesterday, commenting on a sister's post that she was talking about her struggles with the niqab, and I've interviewed her previously actually for the podcast. Um, but you know, she was saying how, you know, she struggles with it sometimes, you know, when she was pregnant, she struggled wearing it because of, you know, difficulty during the pregnancy and things like that. You know, and these are things that women go through, and I think
Yeah.
it's important to be realistic, and even especially being reverts as well, because that sister's also a revert. But you know, when you come from a non-Muslim family, it can be really difficult to, you know, make these big life changes, and especially like the outwards changes that we do. And like you said, I mean, your parents thought that it's just a phase that you're going to grow out from it, you know. And you know, I had the same with my parents as well. Do you know what I mean? They don't understand. Like you have to really, you know, Islam. You know, you become a Muslim and you're going on this journey as a Muslim. Like it's like a completely new version of yourself. I mean, I don't like to. It's not like you're changing yourself, but you are changing yourself, but to become a better version of yourself. You know. Um, so like, you know, obviously leaving the haram behind, and you know, it's embracing, you know, all the halal things and all the things that Islam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to do. And there's a journey, you know, the Quran wasn't revealed overnight, and this is something similar to how the companions, radiallahu anhum, they went through these
Mm.
similar journeys as well. You know, they had to change and adjust their lives, you know, in so many different ways. You know, and you know, and it's good and important for us to have obviously the correct intention and be sincere and try to do as much as possible, you know, as we can. But you know, we're all going to have different tests. So I think, you know, especially for sisters that don't believe that the niqab is obligatory, I personally don't see anything wrong with wearing it part time. And I've always known sisters who wear the niqab part time. You know,
Mhm.
now that sisters are coming out and saying that, you know, people are critiquing them because then, you know, they don't wear the niqab all the time. I just think that's ridiculous, because I've never, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I was living in the UK previously. You know, I was born and raised in the UK, but you know, when I was living in Newcastle, that was basically the beginning of my life as a Muslim. And I always came across sisters who wore the niqab part time. It was just something normal, like, you know, maybe there's a function at the masjid, so they would wear the niqab. You know, but other
Mhm.
times they don't wear the niqab. And these were like different types of sisters. It wasn't just sisters who are, you could say, oh, maybe they're not that strong in their deen. These were sisters. Sometimes it could be like the wife of the imam or something. Do you know what I mean? Or sisters who were very like knowledgeable in the deen. They've like
Yeah.
studied alimiya or something like that. So it wasn't to do with them having like weak iman. It was because, you know, they just had other things in their life that they were doing, like maybe studies, for example. And you know, they knew that going to university maybe it would be challenging to wear the niqab at university or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So they would just wear it, you know, the rest of the time. I know a sister in the UK who she wears the niqab like all the time except for when she works, and she works like once in a week. She's got one day a week that she does her job, and she's like, you know, really like high level professional. And so she only has to work one day. Like she gets paid like mashallah, like a really good amount like that. She only needs to work once a week.
Oh my.
But she doesn't wear the niqab to her work, you know. And you know, even when I did start this podcast, I spoke with Sheikh Fatima Barakatullah. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she's you know, she's a ustada in the UK, and she only wears it part time. She wears it online and she wears it for functions. And you know, she clearly said that when she, you know, in our interviews together as well. So I don't know why some people like to kind of critique sisters or judge them because they're not wearing the niqab all the time. Because for me, if you're not wearing the if as long as you're wearing the correct hijab, you know,
Yeah.
I don't see what the issue is. And Stefana, there's so many women, there's so many Muslim women who don't wear the hijab at all. So it's just like, you know, give us a break. Do you know what I mean? At least like if we're wearing the hijab, then khalas, like, you know, like why go further? And like, you know, even the whole issue of the half niqab, is it really niqab? You know, for me, it's just like, okay, if you might say the half niqab isn't niqab. If you want to say that, then you know, fair enough. But it's still hijab, and it's better than, you know, like hijab that is still showing your whole face. Do you know what I mean? So it's just
Yeah,
like, you
yeah,
know, that I just like think like, you know, when you start thinking about this stuff, it's just it becomes like I don't know. I like, and I don't want to speak out of turn because I'm not like an educated person, like Islamically. I'm not knowledgeable, so I don't want to say anything like, you know, stuff about like haram or anything. But I just think like it just becomes like this kind of toing and throwing over and picking over something which is, I don't see it as such a big issue. As I said, as long as a sister is wearing the hijab correctly, at least she has the intention to wear the hijab correctly, and she's trying to, you know, conceal herself as much as she can, like, and you know, have that modesty as much as possible. You know, I just like, yeah, it's
exactly.
fun, like, especially when it comes to online. I really admire sisters who show up online with the niqab in order to kind of like they like especially like the sisters that I've spoken to, they've mentioned that they're thinking about like their future self basically, you know, and it's like a
Mhm.
what do you call it? It's like a prevention. So like maybe like in the future, if they do decide to wear the niqab full time, they won't have this whole backlog of you know, like content creation.
Yes, I agree. Everyone has different types of like personal preferences and different circumstances that's why they don't wear the niqab full time. For those that would like to wear it full time, but alhamdulillah for all of us because we are it's a struggle, but also it's so beautiful that we're out here being the thing being mothers, being different types of people that we are, and we are also wearing we are trying to wear the niqab or we wear it full time. So alhamdulillah for that.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So apart from, okay, you know, the issue with your family, like you mentioned that you do wear the niqab when you go out, you know, and you're not with them. Have you had any kind of negative experiences from, you know, the public in general, or even other Muslims, for example, or faced any kind of abuse for wearing it?
Yes, alhamdulillah, I have not experienced any of that. So I'm praying that I never experience that. But because shout out to the people that like experience that and still wear it because I don't know honestly if I'll be strong enough to be able to continue wearing it if I go through that. But inshallah, Allah will always help me, and inshallah, may I be strong enough to even if I do have any negativity or anything like that happen to me, God forbid, that I can still stay and wearing it. But I really have never experienced that. But and I hope that we all never experience that. But it's unfortunate um, because we are different, we are more exposed to some people saying or uh, doing stuff to us because the way we dress. But inshallah, I well, alhamdulillah, I've never experienced that. But I
Alhamdulillah,
do give a lot of
alhamdulillah,
credit. Yeah,
alhamdulillah. So
alhamdulillah.
considering your, you know, your experiences so far with the niqab, would you describe it as being a barrier?
I don't think it's a barrier. I honestly, the only place that I'm scared wearing it is in front of my family. But besides that, I love to wear the niqab. I love the different styles of niqab. I've worn the half niqab, the full niqab. For those people that are new here that don't know about like the full niqab and the half niqab, the half niqab is what we call like the covering of your nose down, and then the full niqab is like like the just showing the eyes, right? So I've worn both styles. I love it. I don't think there's any barriers. I would wear it to any place, I would say. So alhamdulillah for like for that mentality, I think, because I'm not really scared of like wearing it elsewhere other than my parents' house or like my family. But um, alhamdulillah, I really do love
Mashallah.
the niqab. I think it's beautiful, the whole meaning of wearing the niqab. So um, alhamdulillah for that.
Alhamdulillah. So, do you think, based on your experience with your parents, especially, would you say that hijabis or sisters who wear the hijab get treated differently from sisters who wear the niqab?
I don't think so. Maybe I haven't really experienced much, but I don't think so. I think in the communities they they both cherish um the niqabis and the hijabis, and we shouldn't be treating people different because sometimes you may think that because you're a niqabi, oh, they must be more like religious, or they may think, some people may think, oh, like maybe they think they're better than us because we don't cover. But I don't think there should be like like any different opinions of like, even if you're a better Muslim if you wear the niqab than if you don't. But like you mentioned, like if as long as we cover each other, ourselves in the full way, that should be good. So alhamdulillah, I don't think I have that much experience with like um being treated differently from other hijabis. But I think then that must mean that we're in a good community, right? Because they treat
Alhamdulillah.
both people, yeah, the same way. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. That's good to hear. Alhamdulillah. So, about working and things like that. You mentioned obviously you're wearing it part time. Have you had experience wearing it for work at all?
No, I don't wear the niqab for work, but subhanallah, because the work that I do, I work as a nurse, and I'm also because I mentioned I'm mostly a stay-at-home mom. So I only work maybe once a month to pick up a shift to just keep my license active. But with the workplace that I do, I work night shifts. So I always work nights, and I go to work from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or sometimes I go to work from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So alhamdulillah, my facility of patients is all women. So like we work mashallah with all patients are all women, and then in my night shift I have women working with me. So like it's such a blessing because I know that like sometimes like and then since at night no one comes in, like our facility is locked because our patients have Alzheimer's. So no family members are coming in. And then when they do, we get to know in our phones, like if someone's coming in, but they knock the door, like, and we have to open it for them. But like no family members come in from like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So there's really no need for like no, well, there could be the need because again, like something could happen, but at that time, I'm really blessed to have a job that works that in the facility. All my patients are women, and then I work with a team of women. Sometimes there is men that work with us, but again, like um, it's they're on since I'm the nurse, I'm in my own office, and then they are on the floor working the floor, but I just think I couldn't have it better, especially at this stage where I'm still not wearing it full time. And I could do better because with my scrub cap, I could tie my mask on and like wear it as a niqab if a man comes, to the office or anything like that. So I am really blessed. I could do better, and inshallah, now that I'm reflecting on this too, I can do better. And I just think it's 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 not a. I don't think, who knows, like I don't know why I don't wear it, because imagine maybe I am a little bit like you said, one of the ladies that came into your podcast, like I don't know what would happen if I was to show off with my niqab to work, but I guess I could do better. I Now that I'm reflecting on it, so may Allah help me and keep me in your du'as too, so
I
um
mean,
it can happen one day.
yeah, may Allah facilitate it for you, sister. I mean, subhanAllah.
I
Yes,
mean,
it's nice. Like, I think sometimes it's important to have these discussions because once you do have them, it helps you to, like, take a fresh look on, what you could be
yeah,
doing, and just
yeah.
maybe, like, do you know what I mean? So, alhamdulillah. So, alhamdulillah, it's good.
Alhamdulillah.
So, what about, I wanted to ask about your book as well, actually, because you said you've written a book, and that's how I
Yeah.
think that's how I came across you, I think. Yeah, so, mashallah, I noticed that, mashallah, you're an author and alhamdulillah, excitingly in Spanish
Yes.
as well. You've got a bio called 2.0. So could you just give us a quick breakdown on what the book is about and what kind of prompted you to write it?
Yes, the book is called Tu Puedes, which translates to You Can Do It. I'm always a motivational person. Everywhere I go, I try to motivate my family, my friends, in order to like keep on for them pursuing what they have, like what talents they have, and to bring them to the world to show them that um to show them around that they can do it, that they can do anything that they put themselves into. And not to be scared to just like pursue. We all have obstacles. We all have had obstacles in our life, but like to not let those like linger there for so much time. Like sometimes we get sad and stuff like that. But so I wanted to write a book on motivating children, adults, or anyone, but mostly children, to go ahead and pursue that dream that they have. Like children have so much imagination, and sometimes we like tell them like, "Oh, what do you want to be? A doctor, an engineer, a lawyer?" Right? But like we have they have so much imagination, and at that time to start instilling in them that like to dream big, like if they want to do something that it's not there yet, like go ahead and start working towards it. Like don't let anyone turn that little flame off. And so this book, it talks about this little girl. Her name is Fatima Violeta, and she goes through like exploring herself, like exploring the different careers that she can go through, that she can be. So she goes, and her dad's a computer scientist, a computer data software programmer, and she's like, oh, maybe I can be like my dad. And then her mom is a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to also like to highlight that being a stay-at-home mom is so beautiful. So her mom is like, she's like, maybe I want to be a stay-at-home mom like you. Um, and she discovers these things, and then she finally decides what she wants to be, and she, with the power of work, dedication, and faith, she's able to become that. And a lot of importance that I wanted to put in this book is like the faith aspect of it, because I wanted that children to know that with them praying, with them having faith in Allah, that they can do anything, because Allah is so great and He can help us in anything. But also, they have to work hard and be dedicated in order to pursue their dreams. And this book is aimed for anyone, especially I love how I have two communities. I have the Latino community with me, and I have the Muslim community with me. So I wanted to like interchange different things in the book for to cater to these two communities. So I wanted the Latino Muslims, I wanted the Latinos that are not Muslims, I wanted them to get to know about Islam through this book, because at that time, like I mentioned before, I never had anyone to tell me like who are Muslim people, and that's why I got a lot of like misconceptions um, instilled in me and things like that. So I wanted to provide a book for them, and then I also wanted to provide a book for the Muslim people, for them to get to know about how beautiful is Latin America, how beautiful is Mexico, what is our culture. So I wanted to cater that. And I also, I guess I have a third type of community too, my Latino Muslim community, because people like us, the reverts, that in Alhamdulillah, we are reverting a lot. Like there's so many Latino reverts here in the US. I wanted to
Yes,
create a book.
subhanallah.
Yes, I wanted to create a book for them so they can see like, oh my God, like now there's representation because now there's like finally some Latino representation in Muslim children writing books. So alhamdulillah for that too. So that's a little gist. I It's so beautiful. If anyone needs any like motivational books for their children or for them to get to know about a different culture, like you were saying, the whole Latino American culture is so beautiful. My book's available for purchase in the Little Hiba website, and I will be having it too also available with me. I will be posting it in my Instagram if you follow me on Stephanie Sweetheart Sanchez. I will be having it there soon, I think by like October, so I can send it from here in the US.
Fantastic, mashallah. I really love that idea. It's like the meeting of two worlds, isn't it? SubhanAllah. And
Yes,
it's nice that you're building that, like you're building a bridge. Alhamdulillah. So it's really, really good, inshallah. May Allah make it beneficial and weigh heavily on your scale of good deeds. Ameen. Ameen.
I
Alhamdulillah.
mean, I mean,
Alhamdulillah. So wrapping up the interview now, sister, I'll ask you a couple of questions, I think. So I wanted to
okay.
ask you if during your time, even before coming to Islam, actually, you did touch on this slightly, but, with the issue of women covering and things like that. Have you ever met any Muslim women who have been forced into wearing the niqab?
No, I've never met any woman that have been forced to wear the niqab. No.
And what about the reverse? Have you met any Muslim women who want to wear the niqab but they're not allowed to wear it? They don't have the supportive husband or supportive family to, encourage them to wear it, or they're preventing them from even wearing it.
Oh yes, I have. Since I now go to the masjids and to events with other sisters, especially Revert sisters, they see me with the niqab and they're like, "Oh my God, I want to wear the niqab so bad." That makes it just harder for them to even wear the hijab too. But all we can do is just like to motivate them, to tell them that like they can do it, that they can that Allah is always so great that He's going to help us all, and inshallah they too can be on their niqab journey. But I've never met anyone that's forced to.
I wanted to ask you as well, what advice would you give to those sisters who and nobody's like stopping them, but they just kind of have that maybe fear in them, or they're like don't feel that confidence to wear it. What would you advise them?
Okay, I would tell them that like yes, it can be scary, but like it's so like to start off little by little, like you mentioned, some of the sisters go and just put it on in the events where other Muslim ladies are at, or they can put it on like to whenever they feel the safest at. So if they feel the safest at with their husbands in like going to a predominantly Muslim neighborhood and they want to start wearing it that way, like you guys can start little by little, wherever you feel the safest at, then just gradually increase it. And again, like don't be once you once you start wearing it, I think it gives you like the confidence. Like you're like, oh, it's not that bad. It's not like no one's like not a lot of people are looking at me, or like I thought I would have all the eyes on me and everything, but it's not even. It's more of your brain just telling you like all these scenarios. But it gets easier. Start wearing it where you're more safe at, and then just from there keep on building up on it. And then well, alhamdulillah, one day you'll be a niqabi, and it'll be such a nice experience. And will have a bigger community of niqabi sisters.
Inshallah, sister, inshallah. So finally, what does the niqab mean to you?
The niqab means to me beauty hidden, and so your intelligence can come out. So you're no one is seeing your face or anything, just your eyes, and but yet they get to see the intelligence that you hold, because they don't even need to see you. They can just by the way you present yourself, the way that you talk, the way that you express yourself, that shows your intelligence. So niqab is like a hidden beautiful girl, but yet shows her intelligence through her words, her actions, without being seen.
MashaAllah, Alhamdulillah, sister. Jazakallah khair for giving so much of your time today. I really loved talking to you and hearing about your experiences with the hijab, your Revert story and everything, Alhamdulillah, and of course your book, which inshallah, we'll have that separate podcast to talk more in depth about that. So Jazakallah khair for your time today. I know you're very busy as well, Alhamdulillah. Barakallah feekum.
Jazakallah khair. Can I ask you one last question?
Yes.
Yes, I would like to for you also here to tell us to motivate, because I have my sister and she'll probably hear this podcast. She wants to do her own podcast, and she wants to I'm telling her go ahead and do it. And I know I wanted to get your insight on this, I know it might be hard to do a podcast, but how have you been away and keep doing advice would you give to someone that would like to start their own podcast?
MashaAllah, I've never had anybody ask me a question in my podcast. That's the first thing. But alhamdulillah. Okay, so just very quickly, what I would say, when I first started my podcast, I didn't have a clue about podcasts. I don't think I'd even listened to a podcast before. But I decided to go for it and do it, even though I really actually hate the sound of my own voice. Okay. And when I started out, I wasn't really prepared. I just thought to myself, I have this list of questions. I want to ask sisters about the niqab. And I had my main purpose was because I wanted to kind of dispel some of the misconceptions within the Muslim community itself, first and foremost, about sisters who wear the niqab, and also within the wider community, so even from non-Muslims. So that was my main objectives with the podcast. And alhamdulillah, I just decided to, as much as I could, be consistent with it. So I decided I wanted to release every week. So I think that would be something, if she starts doing it, she should determine at what frequency she wants to about doing it. I'm not a very technical person, and I didn't get any fancy equipment or anything like that, which I wish I could have, but that wasn't in my actual financial capabilities at the time. And even now it's still as well, because I live in Ghana now. So even during this episode here, we've had problems with internet connection and things like that. So I don't let those things kind of stop me from doing it. So it does affect the quality of my podcast. So definitely, I'm sure that she could do a lot better quality wise. But for me, my quality that I try to focus on is the actual interviews themselves, trying to, speak to sisters like yourself who are interesting. We can have, beautiful conversations, in depth, and really kind of ask those questions that make people feel that, they're being listened to and being heard, basically, and giving people a voice to be able to express themselves, in an opportunity where maybe they wouldn't have that opportunity elsewhere. So that's my kind of those are the kind of things that I kind of focus on for my podcast, because I don't have as I said, it's not the best quality sound wise. And I know that listening to my podcast, it's not the best quality in terms of sound, or even maybe the production and all those kind of technical things. But for me, it's just about sisters getting together and having that conversation, and hopefully, inshallah, being inspired. So I think saying that, your sister, she should just go for it. And there's lots of videos on YouTube these days as well about, if you want to look up and she can afford to get good sound quality, microphone and all these kind of things, speakers and stuff like that, then she can go for some recommended ones that within her price range, her budget, whatever she's got, and just make a plan, think about what she wants to actually talk about. And I would say that's important, because for me personally, there's been a few times people have invited me to speak on their podcast platforms, but when I ask them, what do you want to talk about, they just say, oh, anything you want. And for me, I don't know, I prefer that the person inviting has and they're showing that they've maybe looked about what I'm doing, and they have something specific that they've asked, the reason why they've approached me to talk, have that conversation. Do you know what I mean? Instead of just saying, oh, let's just come and let's have a conversation. I want something. I want to know that there's some kind of point of focus to have a discussion. And then that time, it's easier to build a list of questions around that subject, and then inshallah you could go more in depth as well. Because if you have a conversation with somebody, you might start recording with somebody, for example, and then especially like if it's live as well, that's another thing. It would be really difficult to be able to maybe carry a conversation with somebody that you might not click with, because obviously there's some people that when you speak with them you automatically click with them, but some people it can be more challenging. Maybe
Mhm.
you don't click with them immediately, so there wouldn't be that natural flow. So if you don't have some questions together, like already previously kind of put together, it might be hard for you to go a little bit deeper and get a really enriched conversation that be interesting for other people to listen to. So I think that's quite important, to be honest, because I'm an introvert as well actually. So
Yes,
for
me
me it's
too.
like I'm not interested in small talk. So it's like when people say like, oh, if you want to come and have a conversation on our podcast, they say that, oh, like you can talk about whatever you want. It's just like, well, I don't want to talk. So it's just like,
Thank you.
that's kind of like it's like a flat no from me. So that's it. Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much for the advice. And for everything that you do, really, truly, for your consistency. Like you mentioned, you have some obstacles in your own, like on your own, but you still keep on posting. You still don't give up. Those are things important because we want these Muslim voices of Niqabis to be heard. So thank you for everything that you do. And I really enjoyed talking to you. It was such like, I'm so blessed. Thank you for this opportunity. And like, honestly, I would love to be your friend too. Like, if I was in Ghana, I would come and like meet you. So thank you too, Jazakallah Khair, for everything. I really appreciate it.
Wa iyaki, sister. It was really a blessing being able to talk to you. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So inshallah, have a blessed day.
Good.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.